Ready to go here, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good morning. Welcome back to Talkin' Racine. Man, it seems like it's been a long time since we've seen each other. You know, I was up north in Upper Michigan. You guys were down here for the 4th of July, and from what I understand, you had a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah, that 4th of July puts a lot of stuff in there. Makes it feel like you're really been a long time. But it was a lot of activity during that period of time.
And in case you don't know, the people I'm talking to are George Myers and Jim Spodek, and I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen. And it's now the first Monday after the 4th of July, and we hope you all had a safe and a happy celebration of our nation's birth. And we celebrate taxation with representation is what I always refer to it as. And a lot of things happened while I was gone. Man, you guys have just got all this hot news here, and I feel like the new kid on the block who just walked in and discovered stuff, like the director of city development is leaving.
She is.
Moving to Fort Worth, Texas. She came from Tinley Park, Illinois, and was hired pretty much by John Dickard. He introduced her to the city, and she came in, and she's done what? What is remarkable about her tenure here? Anything?
I think
She got all those machinery, all buildings.
Exactly.
A couple $1 million
tore those down
for the shop,
and,
flatten that
spent a
out.
heck of a lot of money. A lot of money got spent.
Got those 12 businesses out of town.
Bonding. They bonded.
Spent $60,000 investigating whether or not the Uptown Theater should be revitalized, something that I knew back in 1963 when I walked through.
But that's a long time ago. We had to, reaffirm that.
Yeah. In case maybe the pigeons left and the place recovered some way or another in your absence. So anyway, she's leaving, heading for warmer climes, Fort Worth, Texas, where she'll be the Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services, to oversee federal funds, implement neighborhood improvement plans, and serve the most vulnerable populations with housing and services. Wow. Quite a change.
All right. Why is she leaving?
Good question. I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine. I mean, there's 850,000 people there. So I was going to say I can't imagine that position paying more than what she was making here in Racine, which was $115,000.
Probably a little bit more because they did get a raise. But even so, I mean, is the climate so bad? Is there something else going on at City Hall that we're not talking about? I mean, and we brought it up many times on the show, Machinery Row is just ladled with corruption and fraud.
Yeah, that's festering on the back burner.
Right.
It's going to boil over one of these days.
We did lose this assistant attorney, Nicole Larson, who left. Again, another one. Like, why leave that position? No, she went to Milwaukee, apparently, from what I understand. Why is Amy leaving? Why is Jim Palahniuk also looking to go?
Yeah, he's interviewing this week.
Yeah, right.
Columbia, Missouri.
And I don't think they are of such high stature, so renowned that these communities are out looking for them.
Right.
Just, hey, there's someone really hot down there in Racine. Let's see if we can get them.
Well, not if they've watched our show.
Well, at least they would have heard about them.
Yeah,
but the point is that these people are putting out feelers for jobs.
Yeah.
They hear about a job someplace, and so they're looking for it. And if what you say, a possible scenario, there's so much corruption going on and things like Machinery Row. I mean, I could see why someone might want to look for a little cleaner place to work.
Well, and the local government is becoming, in my estimation, and I know you guys probably even before me realized this, it's becoming more and more repressive. I mean, it's constricting information flowing out to the public, and that makes for an uncomfortable work environment. Not everybody is going to be on board with all these things, and when you're not on board with different projects and different attitudes, it becomes uncomfortable,
Okay, here's my take. We did a show, and I can't remember the number, but on Amy Connolly when she came to Racine, she came from Tinley Park. Now, there were some obvious problems down there. I'm going to play a quick video here, and then we can come back. But this is what happened at Tinley Park, and here's my take after we watch this video.
Residents of Tinley Park discovered that their village had allowed an out-of-state company, the Buckeye Community Hope Foundation, to plan to build this 47-unit low-income housing project. The deal was a mere 48 hours away from fruition when citizens got wind of it and showed up in droves to tell the village that they wanted a say in the future of their community. A big mystery surrounds Amy Connolly, planning director, who seems to have used her position at the village to allow Buckeye in through the back door, changing a text amendment to the code to allow access for Buckeye to be in precise compliance. Connolly was placed on fully paid administrative leave, angering many citizens.
What happened to laying her off and letting her collect unemployment like everybody else has?
She's getting paid. We are paying her for her deception. She should be officially laid off until further notice and collect unemployment.
One thing I do want noted by the trustees is that the civil servants who are employees of our town put us in this position. I am a business owner and I have accountability in my business. Someone needs to be held accountable for the dilemma they've created and the lack of trust that now exists between you and us. Because I will tell you, there's none.
She's shrouded in mystery, in my opinion. There's so much baggage with her, and hopefully one day the truth comes out about. Amy Conley needs to resign right now.
She's a menace to Tinley Park. She needs to be, again, removed from any public position because she flat out can't be trusted. I can't even begin to calculate how much money that she has cost this village. Parachute package for her or whatever, or take your money and get out of our way. No. You should be fired immediately. Not one more cent to her. And that's it. And if you want to go back and try and sue us for a wrongful termination, fine. We'll play that game. But for right now, I am sick that my tax dollars, any of them, are going to her. It makes me ill.
Okay, so coming out of Tinley Park to Racine, obviously, she had obvious problems down there, got hired in Racine. Now, the way I look at it is, you've got a machinery row laying out there. Now, she may not have been here when machinery row was initiated, but there was information all along the way that she could have easily or possibly said, hey, we got a problem here. Grants that were given to machinery row, all the information on the relocation of machinery
responsibilities that were not fulfilled.
Now we get rid of it. We change the name to Water Street Development, and we're going to just kind of wash this away. We're going to knock down all these buildings. There's an awful lot of problems that could arise from that. Does she want to go through what she did in Tinley Park again in Racine? I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that certainly could be sitting in the back of her head.
Yeah, and if it's even a remote possibility, even if it's a possibility, that gets uncomfortable because that was enough down there. I mean,
right.
She was virtually booted out of town there, and that's how she found this one. She was looking for a place to go, and
she reportedly got a $360,000 settlement from Tinley Park because she sued them for running her out of town, basically. And
well, actually, what happened, I think, that was the federal government stepped in on the behalf of Amy, saying that, she did change the code, and she did these wrongful.
She changed the ordinances.
To get this development in,
but her own,
basically illegally.
Absolutely, and that's why the city of Tinley Park sued her. But the federal government came in and said, well, the reason you're not allowing it is because you're going to put low income in here, and the city doesn't want it. So that was the lawsuit. Of course, she hung on and saying, I was the protector of the low income housing. Well,
champion of the underdog.
Well, in the turn here, she gets to tie in with this federal government basically backed lawsuit. She gets a settlement, and of course, she comes to Racine.
So the federal government basically browbeat the local Scott Letney there and said, you better.
And they bailed her out.
Yeah, and basically what came is, you want to spend $1 million on defending this suit against the federal government? They're not going to do it. So let's just see what's the number it's going to take to make this all go away. And I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is not all. I mean, she's not the only person that is. We've had several other people leave or retire. A lot of people in the administration downtown are no longer there. Mark Yellen is gone, right?
Right. Yellen's gone. I get Nicole Larson, assistant city attorney. She's gone. Yeah. Of course, you've had the former finance director Tom Friedel leave, and of course you had the John Dickert resigning early. You know, and we're going to get into that a little deeper.
It's not like we lament, at least I don't lament their leaving. I mean, it's not like we're horribly going to miss them. It's just that it's kind of an interesting phenomena that all these people are quickly departing, you know, like the rats leaving the ship.
Oh, George, come on. Referring to these fine people as rats, I don't know. Well, and the next up on
That's just an analogy. I'm not calling anybody a rat.
Right.
The next up on the exit ramp is Jim Palahniuk, city manager.
Right.
That's a big position. I mean, if he leaves, who's going to do the mayor's job?
Not the mayor.
Yeah, well, he's got 5 assistants now.
Right. Find somebody in there.
Yeah, there should be somebody that can step up and do most of the work.
But you know, we you know, again, we go back to talking Racine, and when Jim Palahniuk was hired, you know, of course, there was no evaluation on him. There was nothing. We're just going to take him. He had some arena failure in was it Reno?
Well, it was at the height of the arena frenzy here in town, and we're firmly of the opinion that Dickert brought him in specifically to ride the arena horse and get that thing into the stable. You know,
right.
He had sold it to people of Rio Rancho. Was it?
Rio Rancho.
That's what he sold it to people down there. So Jim brings him up here. Dickert brings him up here to sell us on it, and unfortunately, it didn't work. Dennis Monte had his signs out by that time.
Well, and in spite of $600,000 being spent on a study,
Oh my gosh!
and a lot of that study went into propaganda, really. It went into sales materials that was supposed to convince the local public that the arena was that was the thing that was up and coming. Dickert even came on and said, well, not on our show, but he came on the public airwaves and said, if we don't do this, somebody else will.
Absolutely.
We got to get there. We got to get there first.
Kenosha's going to build it if we don't do it.
Yeah.
Everybody along the lakeshore is going to get a reading.
Everybody wants.
We better hurry up.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, again, we go through all this malarkey that comes along from politicians. I mean, it's just. The fact is, nobody ever challenges these remarks. They just say it. They pump a press release to the newspaper prints it. Well, that must be the truth. You know, nobody wants to check it. Nobody looks at the figures. But I got a little video here of our episode. I don't remember, of 17 or something like that, and when Jim Palahniuk was being hired. And I just want to play this little clip here.
All right, let her rip.
No, the city administrator is the highest paid individual.
Is $140,000 a year, and
I've never seen the likes of what has taken place here.
Can you clarify why there are no written evaluations or standards? Took character, integrity issues, honesty. In my personal opinion,
I gotta stop it. This guy's starting to kill me.
So it was chemistry.
Yeah, it was chemistry.
and I look forward to working very closely with each of you and hopefully offering some value along the way. So thank you.
That's how he can get away with renting 3 cities in a row and still get a job.
That was pretty interesting. You know, yeah, he managed to run into problems in 3 cities. And in all honesty, the guy hasn't done a terrible job here in Racine.
No,
We've criticized him some, and there's things that deserve criticism, specifically when he came to circumstances he came in under. But since then, he has kind of stepped up and taken over the responsibilities that he's been given, and we've heard that he does try to support the city council in their efforts to actually legislate and run the city.
I've heard that. I've heard the same thing. That he if somebody wants information, you know, Scott Letney's got things so closed down.
Right.
It's hard to get anything out of anybody, but you can go to Jim Palahniuk and you can get the information. So I mean, that might be one of the problems he's facing too.
Yeah, we might be squealing
on him.
We might be squealing at him. You know, that he's actually allowing people to know what the heck is going on. That's
Okay.
But he's looking at a job. He's going down this week to look at that job in Columbia, Missouri.
Right.
So.
Okay. Here's the other question. Why, if he's doing a good job, and I think, you know, I would say I don't hear anything that's...
He hasn't ruined the place.
Right, right. So...
Why is he anxious to get out?
And why aren't we offering him a contract?
Yeah.
Why aren't we saying, hey, you know, I mean, remember Friedel, the cousin of John Dickert?
Yeah.
Remember, he wasn't making enough, so we had to give him more money. Oh, I think I'm going to leave, so we upped it to $130,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a play. Now we've got someone who maybe is probably more of
an actual manager
than Friedel was, and we're not offering him a contract.
It's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, if we're interested in keeping them, you would at least do. You say, here, we'll offer you this contract. You may go anyway, but it's not going to hurt you to offer a contract.
Right. But there's no contract been offered.
But nothing's been offered.
Nothing's in the pipeline to say, hey, we're gonna work up a contract and see if Mr.
Over in another part of City Hall, they're saying, well, Mr. Talkative is about to leave. Should we offer him a contract?
Right. So obviously, now
let him go.
I did do I dug down a little bit in Columbia, Missouri, and one of the interesting things I saw was they did a public. They're going to have a public get together to meet Jim Palahniuk and the other candidate for the position.
Oh, where he's going?
Yeah, where he's going. So I thought it was kind of nice. The public gets in to meet the possible candidates, which I think is a smart move on Columbia's part. You think that would actually happen in Racine when Palahniuk came? You think they would have offered to meet the public, or Amy Connolly to meet the public, or any of the people? None of that happens.
No, our thing with the public is, if they want to talk to us, we get 250 signatures and we'll talk
exactly.
to them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Probably there are people out there watching who do not realize that Columbia, Missouri is the capital of Missouri.
Right.
It would be analogous to Madison, Wisconsin here, and it's a college town. A little bit better climate. I can understand why there are things that would attract somebody in Jim's trade to go to Columbia, Missouri, as opposed to staying here. And maybe he made it real clear that I got one foot out the door already.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that
I don't know. I
interesting.
haven't been down there talking anyways.
If you're going to get hired, I mean, Amy Connolly said, "I'm hired. I'm leaving."
Yeah.
Jim Palahniuk said, "I'm considered for this position in Columbia, Missouri." It's a little different scenario there.
Yeah.
So questioning,
how do you come back if you don't get that job?
Right. I mean, you're already, I don't know. There's a little bit more to that. Again, why now? So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we sure
I won't bring up my ship again.
No.
My sinking ship.
Oh.
That those things are leaving.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
exactly.
You don't want to cast
I get accused of calling
aspersions
people names. Well, I remember Jim ran into that one time about the rats in the sewer.
The sewer, yeah.
There's a rat in the sewer.
You're trying an analogy, and somebody says, "Oh, you're calling us sewer rats now."
Yeah, Mr. Political Correct here, George.
That's all right.
And the winner is, amongst those who are leaving the Leaving Racine lottery, Tim Tompkins. Soon to be former head of Human Resources.
I think he's already left.
He's already left? Yeah.
He's already left. Now, he was the one that got the big payout.
Yeah.
Well, Jim pointed out why he had to leave. I thought that was real interesting. When we're done uncovering all this junk coming down with the DNR and all that type. Oh, no, that was a drug thing. We don't want him sitting there. With the cover.
We cannot
let's get him out of there so
right.
it's over and done with.
Right. There's
So
too much baggage with this. He hangs around there too little too long. This is not going to be good.
We don't have the figure yet that we can release. It's substantial, though, from everything we've heard.
Yeah, everything. I mean, it's obviously Tim Tompkins was still payoff, and he's apparently gone, and they haven't released the information yet. And it's like any time the city pays any money out, they've got to make sure that it's all right, and you and I know what the cost of buying a car is or whatever because we spent that money. They know what those numbers are, but they have to keep this under wraps for what? Because they want to, as long as they can keep it further out, the less people remember, and away it goes. So that's one thing that we do here. We've archived a lot of information over the period of time. And that's something that is
Jim might get accused of improving the memory of the city.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Tim Tompkins had a strange employment history from the very beginning, and it's leaving under mysterious circumstances. As we find out the actual circumstances, the actual facts of the matter, we'll bring them back to you. But for right now,
does it look like it's anything like the other departures? The other departures seem to be, it's a little stinky around here. I'd rather go.
Well, there's a strange aroma in the room, and it ain't me.
Well, yeah. No, I think you're right.
Tompkins is a little different circumstance.
Yeah, but it's all that they're all of them are a little questionable about why are we all leaving now? Why are we cleaning house the way we are? And we're not replacing. And who are we going to replace with? Are there people out there they've got no wings already? I mean, this city has always had somewhat of an issue with clarity. And, like I say, I was down in Columbia or looking at some of the information here. I mean, they were very much open, very wide open with their information.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, when I just brought up the fact that we archive a lot of information, or we keep a lot of information, you have to remember, when these aldermen that are elected, even though we give them grief, they really don't have any history. They just know that I can wave in the parade, and they told me I can do this, and they told me I can do that. There's no depth there, so you can't expect them to necessarily make an educated decision on something when they really don't know the depth of
that's right.
the issues.
That was my objection to it to the aldermen receiving roses. For having been elected alderman. This is not a beauty contest.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going into a position, and you don't even know any history behind that position. A lot of these people, the first time they've come to the city hall and actually, participated at all. They don't get up and make any public comments or anything like that. Their first time really at city hall is when they get elected alderman.
And we know, that they got heavy partisan support. A lot of those that prevailed in the election, heavy party support. They themselves probably, if they were running on their own, by their own, never would have gotten elected, some of them. Wouldn't stand a chance.
The point is they come in really, really raw, with no background.
Exactly, but they have what I'm saying is they have a loyalty to the party and to the head of the party, which is Corey Mason.
And that's the depth of it. That's all it is.
That's it.
Corey Mason likes me.
So how do you get an objective view on something when you're basically fed this information? I mean, I go back to this 250 signatures you need. I mean, how did they pull that one off? That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
But they did it because it was this club now. And now they've got it, it's locked in. So when we talk about aldermen having decision-making powers, they really don't. It's really the administration. So now you've got this administration leaving. My thing is, why are they leaving, number one? Number two, who's going to replace them? And are those already in place somewhere?
Well, we have a statement here from Shannon Powell, who's the communications coordinator or something in Mayor Mason's office. You want me to read what he says?
Yeah.
We remain on schedule to fill the Commissioner of Public Works position, and will establish a plan for others as those transitions take place, he said in an email Friday evening. There is a lot happening in Racine right now. Could have fooled me. And we certainly believe we will be able to market opportunities to work for the city in a way that will attract great talent. Well,
in other words, we're going to keep the street lights shut off. We're not going to fill the potholes. We're going to get these people back in.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about $500,000 worth of personnel that wasn't needed.
$500,000 a year,
ago.
Right.
Yeah, $500,000 a year that we simply didn't need, and we operated for years. 2 or 3 years, not a long period of time, but a long period of time, without a commission of public works.
Right.
So the point is that there's a lot of ways to cut expenditures at City Hall, and we're seeing some of it right now. It's slapping us in the face, but there's somebody sitting up there near the mayor that's saying, no, we're going to get all this stuff, we're going to keep
part of that, George, is that it's the mentality they have. If I isolate myself with a lot of different people and I keep outside and I keep isolating myself, it's harder to get to me.
That's right.
And
the
then I can peel off.
responsibility level just goes down.
Exactly.
It's
exactly. And I think we brought it up before. That Shannon Powell has been an excellent job for his communications. With Corey Mason. He's done an excellent job.
Well, we have a question as to whether or not that job should be getting done. But in terms of making the mayor look good,
he has done excellent.
Boy, he's got Corey in the newspaper all the time. He's at a funeral.
Hardly an issue goes by where
his
picture, Corey Mason's picture in the paper, and I thought, well, Shannon Powell's doing his job. It was, because I never saw any other mayor covered like that.
Right.
With his picture.
I mean, you've got the perfect scenario. You got a newspaper that'll take a press release and just print it, no questions asked. You've got now a media communication person in the mayor's office who will take that information, package it up like a nice present, give it to the media. It gets pumped into the paper. It gets sent out correctly. I mean, it's the perfect storm. But here's the problem: the taxpayers are paying for this PR guy.
Yeah,
that's what it's doing. What does he do for the taxpayer?
Well, not just the PR guy, but there are 5 staff members down there in the mayor's office, where before there was like 1.
Right.
So we're looking at a
he shared a secretary with the city attorney.
We're looking at $500,000 there a year at least, and $500,000 from these others who have left recently a year. So $1 million a year for all of these people. more than that,
Yeah.
I would guess, when you throw in insurance and blah, 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 and all these other benefits. So, but nobody other than us discusses that.
I've said it before, and as you know, as the programs go on, I'm adding a little more ammunition to my gun, and that is that there are a lot of ways to balance this budget. There's a lot of ways to get rid of that $100 million debt. It can be done. I think the biggest interest in the local person isn't necessarily with things. It's with maybe letting them keep a little more of their money.
Well,
Get the tax reduced, get the regulations reduced, and because our real future is going to be in the people themselves.
Exactly.
You're going to get a lot more employment out of people coming in and creating new jobs, 1, 2 at a time. With 1,000 people doing it at a time, instead of waiting for one company to come in, and they're going to spend all these millions of dollars, and they're going to rescue you.
Right.
That's it just doesn't work that way. And
you see this.
This
now
country
I
wasn't
see it
built
more.
that way.
Right.
The city was not built that way. It was built
It's
with.
not going to be revitalized that way either.
No, it was the individual being allowed to function and being creative and getting out there and doing things and making things that people wanted, and that was that.
Well,
was
but
your
this
basis
top-down mentality, though, seems to be
that's the destructive way.
Yeah,
That's right.
it is. This
Well,
top-down,
you
we're
guys,
gonna build this and build that, and it's
You
gonna
guys
change
realize what's coming up this coming Sunday, right?
what?
Uh-oh.
Our French brethren are going to be celebrating Bastille Day, which is kind of like their Independence Day, where they stormed the Bastille, the big prison where so many people were incarcerated, and they set them free, and they killed a bunch of royals. I mean, it was a mess, but it was quite a revolution. So
we'll hold back on that a little bit.
yeah. So have a happy Bastille Day next Sunday, and we'll be back
Quietly
with you.
at your home, please.
Yeah. Don't any beheadings. Not a good idea. We'll see you next Monday. Thanks for being here.